Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special webinar. It's part two to a webinar we had on October 11th, solving unique challenges compact districts face. We believe in maybe compact districts a better word than small districts, which maybe can kind of seem a little pejorative. Bottom line is, we know large districts, they have more hands on deck to get the daunting responsibility of transporting students to school and back home every day. They have lots of hands available. They even have specialist employees who handle maybe just one task and one task only. Compact districts, on the other hand, they have that same daunting responsibility. I know I'm preaching to the choir. You already know this. You're probably all nodding your head. But you have fewer people doing the job, and often some of you are doing more than one job. You're wearing multiple hats. Specialists, what's that? So today, we're going to get into some unique situations and actually really tools that we believe are, it's not just a nice to have, but they're actually must have to help you handle that daunting task of transporting children every day to school and back home safely every single day. So today, we're going to hear from a couple panelists who are in the same seat as you are, Clara Bezoin and Rachel Neubauer. They're going to talk about their experience in running compact districts and what tools they use, how they've worked, and even some tips that have worked best for them. You know, one of the things we love about this, we did a dry run yesterday, and one of the things I love about it is the panelists actually helped each other with some unique suggestions, and that's just what happens at these webinars. So we're excited about that. After Clara and Rachel share their stories, we're going to go back to Transfinder's president and CEO, Antonio Civitella, and Zach Morin, and they're going to get into the nitty gritty. But first, they're going to give us the big picture. Zach, I think, is going to start us off and just share what specifically we can expect today. And then we'll come back and we'll talk to Clara and Rachel about the tools they're using. Zach, take it away.
Absolutely. Our hope today is to kind of follow up. If anyone joined us for our webinar previously on school opening, we really want to take it to the next step and talk about, well, where does Transfinder fit in? How do we help compact districts? You know, a few things that we've heard from our clients are things like route optimization and efficiency, having a partner there and that level of support that's needed as you're integrating new technology, and then being able to access your tools from anywhere. But we want to take what we talked about last time and dig in a little bit deeper. So today we're going to show, you know, how does our platform help you be more efficient, help optimize your routes? What do the communication tools look like? How can we start communicating with our community, with our parents? And then what are some of the insight resources that we have, right? How can I keep track of my GPS, my ridership, all of these different pieces? And for us, it's really important that when you're looking at upgrading your technology, that you're working with a partner that's able to bring all these pieces into kind of one place. So that's what we're going to do. Last webinar was kind of high level. This one, we're going to get a little bit more in the weeds and actually show you some of the tools and resources that the platform brings.
Thanks so much, Zach. By the way, if you are looking to catch the last webinar, you can find it on transfinder.com. At the very top, you'll see the YouTube icon, and just click that and you'll be able to see what was covered last time, so we can go a little further here. We didn't want to just cover the same material twice. There's a lot more here. Before we get started, a couple of things I want you to know. One, this is also being recorded, will be available later this week. Number two, this is interactive. So there's a comment section here. In fact, we're going to use it right now to tell us, here's my big question. Do we now know who is in the World Series? It's the Texas Rangers against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So I want to know two things. One is, where are you logging in from? What state are you in? And who you're rooting for? And if you're not rooting for anybody, then just say don't care or nobody or whatever. But if you could just punch in, I'd like to just kind of see who we have with us. Where you logging in from and who are you rooting for? The last thing I wanted to mention is we're going to have a poll question at the end of this panel discussion, and we'll have the results at the very end of the webinar. So I think it's going to be useful and instructive for you. So right now I got a couple don't cares. So anyway, Ohio, New Jersey is rooting for no opinion, neither team. Okay, we got one Texas Ranger person, but they're from Lucas, Texas. So go Rangers. You know, Rangers have never won the World Series. So there's a little bit of that excitement there. Ohio, okay, don't care. So as a Mets fan, I am wearing Mets colors today, kind of in honor of blue and orange, and it's been a while since they've been in the World Series. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to bring out our panelists, Clara Bezoin, who is with Scotia Glenville Central School District, which is literally just down the road from Transfinder's headquarters in Schenectady. Welcome, Clara.
Hi.
Did I say your name okay?
You did. It was perfect.
All right. Awesome, awesome. With a name like Dorico, you can imagine what I get. I get lots of different variations. Melody, by the way, is a hockey family, so baseball, what's that? Okay. Anyway, and we also have Rachel Neubauer, who is the transportation director at East Troy Community School District. And that's a little bit further down the road in Wisconsin. I was mentioning to Clara and Rachel that we actually have a webinar tomorrow specifically focused on Service Finder, and it actually has the same two states represented just by happenstance. So New York and Wisconsin. So Wisconsin's finally getting their due. So anyway, you guys are representing very well. So I wanted to start off with, I'll start with you, Rachel, first. Talk a little bit about your career, how long you've been where you are, a little bit about your district, what you were using before you made the turn to Transfinder, and then like kind of what went into that decision. Then we'll go to Claire, and then this will be a conversation because I think that you both made so many great points yesterday. I just want to let it run. So for Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself and your district.
Sure. I've been with the district for 5 years, in my current role for not quite a year yet, but in the weeds with the routing stuff. So we had Transfinder. No, I'm sorry. We had Traversa. Wow. We had Traversa and it was terrible. It was so frustrating that the way they have it set up, it's not user friendly. So I had been pushing, hey, we need something different. This just isn't working. I'm spending way too much time on piddly stuff that should be pretty automatic. So we asked our registrar, who handles all of our student information stuff that goes in. She talked to everybody at a Skyward conference, and a lot of people were saying, oh, we have Transfinder, works great, integrates well with Skyward. So we looked at Transfinder. We looked at another company that I can't remember, but immaterial. And I really pushed for it because, oh my goodness, the difference was amazing. I mean, just to have it so much more user friendly. It's easy to search. You know, if I have a parent call that, you know, wants to change their kid's route, but they didn't tell me who their kid is, I can still figure out who their kid is based on the parent now, if they have different last names. So it just so much more user friendly.
That's great. Now, give me a little bit about your district. How many students are you transporting?
We have about 1,500 students in the district, and we're transporting about 900 of them. We have about 17 routes that we run in the morning and in the afternoon, and then some in the middle of the day for 4K.
Okay. And you just started implementing Route Finder Plus, correct?
Yes, so we signed the contract in February so that we'd be ready for this school year. And with all the training that they provided and the personal, you know, we had an instructor that we met with, and that made it so easy. In fact, I met with our project manager this morning to go over any other little things that we have to finish up, which was great.
Awesome. Awesome. Good. I'll get back to you, I promise. Clara, tell us a little bit about your career, how long you've been at Scotia Glenville. I don't know if you were elsewhere, and then just a little bit about your district.
So I've been with Scotia Glenville since 2008. it's been it's funny to say that. I'm like, wow, it was just yesterday, but no, it wasn't. So in my entire time with Scotia Glenville, we've always had Transfinder. So Rachel, I'm not gonna say I haven't done the same thing you did. When you see little bumps in the road, you find out what's out there, what are other things, and it was looking at other companies, what they had that brought me back to Transfinder in the services that they have. And I know we said it yesterday, I agree 100% that these products are working the way we need them to, and what's going to help us, and to Rick's point, smaller districts are compact, which I love that statement. We're on the go 99% of the time, and the products are helping us do that, continue that pace that we have to run at a daily basis.
Yes.
Yeah, now that I'm just, this expression just came to mind. When my son, when he's like now normal height and everything else, but when he was a little bit younger, he was a little bit one of the shorter kids in his class, and one of the girls said a nice expression. She said, "You're fun sized," you know. That's like Halloween, right? We have fun sized. So you guys are fun sized, really. So
That's right. Absolutely.
We sure are.
so now, Claire, you said something that you're still getting calls from like other companies saying, "Are you still happy?" or whatever. Tell me a little bit about it. I don't want to forget that point that you made yesterday.
Yeah, no, so it's kind of funny because this other company, and I'm not going to name names because, I'm going to be honest and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So this other company was one I saw at the winter workshop that we had here in February, back in like 2018. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. The software that I have doesn't do that. It doesn't work that way. And of course, we don't have a ton of time. Even back in 2018, when we started to see the driver shortage, you didn't have all the time to do the research. So it kind of just sat on the back burner until, COVID came. And I had reached out and like, please tell me more about your product. So they razzled and dazzled, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk to my district and see what we can do. And we put the RFP out, and we had several companies submit their information, and two were fairly local, obviously Transfinder and another company. And the fun thing about those RFPs, and Rachel, I'm sure that you had part of this, is that you get a list of their customers, the people that are using their products, which is great, but also it could be, not so great. So, I, based on their customer service, talking to the districts that were using that particular company, the customer service ratings were horrible. And I was like, you know what, I can deal with glitches, but I can't deal with customer service that isn't gonna come through for me. And obviously, being with Transfinder for decades, I think Scotia started working with Transfinder probably 40 years ago, and I know that Tony has a better time frame on that than I do, but customer service has never failed me. They've always been there, and of course, they're in my backyard, but 100%.
Transfinder's been around for 35 years. We are so good. We served your district 5 years before we even existed. That's how good.
So, yeah, when I was a toddler. So it's funny because I can never remember, and Tony always has the exact year, and I'm like, I'm gonna remember that. I never remember it. So 35 years.
April 1995.
So the customer service, it really was, you guys have the same products that work very similar, but it's the customer service point that had hands down staying with Transfinder. So yes, that person has reached out recently and said, are you still happy? And yes, I have been happy since the beginning of time with Transfinder.
Awesome. There's the quote of the day right there. Rachel, you said that customer service was one of the main issues that frustrated you with the other company.
Yes.
So
we had a weird glitch that, if I didn't save something quite in the right order, it ended with a error message, like a red line on the student's routing information, even though there's no reason for it. And I talked to them about it, and they never got back to me about it. So sorry.
That's okay. The one thing we know about this, whenever we do these webinars, is you guys have busy jobs and you never know what's going to come up in a split second. So Rachel, I want to talk about two quick things. I want to make sure we get to them. Number one, both of these clients, by the way, they have Route Finder Plus. Clara, you implemented it like in August, like weeks before school started. I want to get to that. You both have Viewfinder, you both have Stop Finder and Trip Finder. Rachel, I want to talk about one thing you highlighted yesterday I thought was really interesting, how you optimize routes, but you brought the drivers in. Tell us set the scene for everybody. I don't want to take any more. Share what you did.
So in order to get a little bit more driver buy-in, shall we say, I did a round table. I took the routing, put it on the wall with the projector, and I said, all right, these are the problems. This is what we need to solve. So as a group, we looked at it. We said, okay, this route has too many kids on it. How can we even that out? This route is a little bit too long. How can we even that out? And because Transfinder is so easy to switch stops between routes, it made it so easy. And then we looked at another route, said, oh, can we run this one backwards? It would eliminate a whole bunch of left turns. Sure, let's look at what that would do. And it was great. And I feel like our drivers were heard and they felt so great about it. So
that's great. Yeah, right. And Clara, you were saying like, and that's what a compact district can do. And maybe even a large district maybe could do it if they broke it down into smaller groupings, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I did that with Transfinder when I first took over here. We took the routes and sections and looked at it and just made sure that none of our buses were crossing paths. You know, there was some stuff we had to clean up when I took over, but and Rachel, it's important that you have that in, you know, we were talking about that yesterday, the input from the staff. So, and of course I said yesterday, give them the input so that they feel, you know, feel good about it, but also so they, you know, will take the stuff that they're told to do that they don't necessarily want to do, then it's an easier pill to swallow.
Absolutely.
But it also kind of shows that there's a method to your madness, so to speak.
Yes.
You make adjustments to bus routes that,
For sure.
and why this bus was overloaded and this bus maybe had fewer, or like Clara mentioned, and it's not always about number of students. It also could be time, you know, distance as well, and all those other factors. Sarah, you were able to turn you made the move from Route Finder Pro to Plus. How quickly did that happen? And why were you so crazy to do it in August? It's, you know.
So clearly chaos is where we live in transportation. And when we started the RFP, I said, you know, let's do this change in 24-25. But then as we had, you know, we chose our product and we were chatting with some of the staff that was assigned to from Transfinder to me. And, you know, it was like one of those, why are we waiting? Why can't we do this now? Can we do it early? And so we were like, oh, a challenge. You can't not accept a challenge like that. So Maddie and Caitlin, who are amazing Transfinder staff, and a ton of other behind the scenes, took my old pro information and, you know, fed it into Plus. And I was like, you know what? I want to play in that playground. I want to start routing just to see what it looks like. So Caitlin was nice enough to, you know, allow me to do that. And I was like, we took my old database and put it here and I added my new kids. So this is my database. Let's go live with it. So they did a few things with it. So I started playing around the end of June. We went live in August and, you know, we had a few blips, but nothing that couldn't, you know, be fixed. And we ran opening day with no problems.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Rachel, you're shaking your head.
Yep.
It's easy to implement.
So easy. One of the things I was just remembering that when I was going around and training staff on, hey, this is how we want you to submit for field trips. We want you to use Tripfinder. It's this really great program. The material that you sent along with it, oh my goodness, all I had to do was go through the slides and then answer questions. And it was so easy. By the third or fourth to school. I was like, okay, you guys, seriously, you don't have any questions for me? Am I missing something? I mean,
You know, I
it
had
was all right there.
a couple weeks ago. They said that the offices, the phones weren't ringing, and they were wondering. It was opening day, and they were like, "Is there are our phones work?" They actually, the administrator came out and goes, "Are our phones working?" And they go, "Yeah," and they hadn't had any calls. So it was kind of shocking. It's kind of like when your kids are quiet. You know,
Yeah.
I want a little bit of noise to know that they're still breathing.
Yeah, the sound of something serious wrong.
Well, let's stick with, I want to get the Stop Finder and Viewfinder, but since we're talking about Trip Finder, tell me a little bit about why you went to that solution and how it's worked for you. Either one of you, go ahead, jump in.
So I know we started using TripFinder last year, even when we had Pro, the older product, and it's because the driver shortage. For many days, I'm not here at my desk. I'm in a bus transporting, and it's become a little too much for me to do, the trip entries for the field trips, sports trips, various taking kids to student jobs. For the programs that they have during the day. And you want to give everybody the right amount of time that you have available, but also TripFinder has allowed us to give somebody else the freedom to enter the information that they need and then have it just at my fingertips to say, yes, I can do that. I can accommodate that. But it's not me going through 50 different emails that I've received in the last 20 minutes to figure out what staff needs, what bus at what time. And then, of course, Rachel and I were talking about the required fields. So it's so easy to go in there and tell them, what is the bare minimum information I need in order to get your request processed? And they go through that. And it's, Rachel, I know that we were talking about required fields and how that makes everything easier for everybody. It limits the frustrations. The communication on the other part of that we didn't talk about yesterday was the authorization levels, which I absolutely adore. So when somebody enters in the school level, they get, level 1 authorization. So they've entered the trip, but they're not guaranteed until somebody in my office, usually myself, looks at it and says, I can do that. That's a given. So, and then you get to change that to a green light. For us, it's green. And it's a go, or I can, add notes and send it back. A request denied because, you're leaving during academic runs. We can't do that. So that's I hijacked it, Rachel, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
That's how TripFinder has made my life easier starting last year, and this year even more so because we have more and more staff that I'm bringing to the dark side.
Yeah, Rachel, I mean, that was a good tip. You had wanted to have like a certain side pickup at the school, I think, or something.
Yeah, so otherwise we since it's slow rollout with this, I started with the coaches and we kind of know where all the sports teams want to be picked up. Now, as we've been starting to get more of the teachers putting in their field trip requests, we don't always know what door at the school they want to be picked up at. So Clara mentioned yesterday, just make the notes required, make it a required field, which is where I told them, put in the notes what door you want to be picked up at. Did it this morning. It was perfect.
Oh, excellent. I love that. I really love that. That's really what I love about these interviews, to be honest with you, is those eureka moments. And I always learn something, but I know that the panelists always get something from each other. Let's go to Stop Finder, and then I want to get to Viewfinder because Clara had another really good suggestion yesterday. I know you haven't rolled out Viewfinder yet, and maybe you have since yesterday. I don't know.
No, I didn't get there yet.
But how Stop Finder? Tell me a little bit about. I know you both had some stories about Stop Finder, how it's helped you. We talked specifically about pinpointing notifications to the relevant people and those kind of things. I'm going to start with you, Rachel, and then go to you, Clara.
So, well, specifically this year we've got some major construction projects going on. So just the ability to send out specific emails to this specific route or these couple of routes to the parents saying, your kids' times are going to be changing once construction's finished. It will be updated, Friday or whatever. Once this construction alleviates our our time problems. So that's been great. It's so easy. And then even just getting parent feedback messages, you know, when they, instead of getting a million emails or getting all these phone calls, they just send a message saying, you know, Melody will not be on the 4K bus today. Perfect. I can tell the driver, good to go. Done and done. So easy.
Great, great. That's awesome. Clara?
So StepFinder is amazing for us because it has a level of accountability on both of our parts. So the accountability would be StepFinder shows their schedule, and that's when the bus will be there. And for us, it's a 5-minute window. I know some districts use 10 or some are like spot on. But it holds us accountable to a bus schedule, and it holds a parent accountable when they send a message. Maybe, you know, Susie and Johnny don't need the bus today, cancel transportation. And then, you know, if we get a call later, well, why didn't the bus come for Susie or Johnny? Then we have that message saved in StepFinder. So accountability is amazing, and that goes both ways. Like I said, for a schedule, we don't necessarily send out a message to our parents when the schedule changes, and that's because they have that at their fingertips. They can take a look at that every single day and know what their schedule is, whether it be the home pickup or the alternate location, daycare, whatever that is. They have that information, and it doesn't hurt for them to just go and take a look. And I was saying yesterday, a big part of StepFinder is to make sure that you don't overuse those notifications so that people don't shut it off because you're like, ugh, so that bus isn't even mine, you know, if you're blasting.
You said don't overuse it just because you can. I really like
you can.
That's good. That's good because you don't, like we talked about yesterday, Glenville, you guys have a unique situation with Sunnyside. For those of you not in this area, a major kind of shortcut is going to be off the grid for I don't know how long.
Years.
And you can tell people north of that area, you know, that their bus is going to be late, or you can tell those south that are not impacted. You don't need to notify them at all because they're not impacted. Okay, I want to go quickly.
I'm going to hijack first, Rick, because I learned something new while we were training. So and Rachel, this is amazing. I don't know if you'll come across it, but when you're in your routing map, I'm getting excited. When you're in your routing map, you can tell your routes not to go into a certain area for a specific set of time. So like so we've set ours to when my bridge is supposed to be fixed, 2026, 2027. So it won't route your vehicles through those areas, and it has that expiration date. So I'm looking forward to, well, not only the bridge to be complete because it needs to be complete,
right,
but just to check out that routing system. So if you haven't blocked the no left turns in your district, use that too as well.
Okay.
You can block
well,
those
I've done that, and I didn't find where you had like an expiration date for something like that. I'll have to look again. Because
check with your staff, your support staff.
I just manually went in and just fixed it.
For those of you who are watching this is why I had to put them together. Like, I just love this. I love it. I want to go to Viewfinder real quick, Rachel, because you haven't implemented it yet. You made Clara perk up. As you can tell, it doesn't take much to get Clara to get perked up here. Clara, so you said you hadn't, I think you had said, Rachel, that you hadn't yet trained your administrator. Clara had a suggestion. I think it was a good one. I think you liked it too, Rachel, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So Clara, tell us, first of all, how is Viewfinder working for you? Do you like it? How's it working? And then what do you think it might be a good tip if you are going to roll it out?
So I absolutely love Viewfinder because it's given a little bit of the power to the staff in the school. So for most of us, you get those calls, what bus is Sue on? What bus is John? Yeah. And it's those phone calls that you don't mind answering. Obviously, that's what we do, but you don't always have time to do that politely or quickly. So Viewfinder has given the staff at the schools the opportunity to take a look at where their kiddos are. They don't have to waste their time on a phone call to me either. So Viewfinder is also super user friendly. It's very pretty. You know, it has a map, so they get to see where the bus stop is in relation to the school. They get to see, you know, all those important details that they didn't see before. And it's easy to use. A lot of my staff did not, the staff at the schools, they didn't get the in-depth training. I said, hey, let me come over and visit you. I will show you this, and I want you to play around and let me know what you think. No training needed. I really went over there. Here's your login, your password. These are your search bars. They are your friend, the quick filter. Love it. And they're using it on a daily basis. I don't get anywhere near the number of calls for the information. They're not Info Finder LE. It had its time. It was wonderful when it was there, but nobody wanted to use it because it was clunky. And that, I'm sorry if that's rude, it was clunky. Nobody has those hesitations with Viewfinder. And I'll share this, a lot of times when I'm driving in the afternoon, I have to ask our district office staff to dispatch for me. So they have their own logins of Viewfinder, and they say every single time, we love Viewfinder. It was so much easier to find what we needed when we needed it. It was quick, it was easy, and you know, they always help me anyway, but this is making it easier and more fun to come to my playground.
I have to admit, I am really excited to go over and teach them Viewfinder. It's just been time, and I didn't put it high on the priority list.
You don't have time?
Kids there. I am excited. I feel like they are going to find that it is super helpful, and they won't need to call nearly as much.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm still a firm believer. Find your person that hates technology and find your person that loves technology. Let them both loose and just give this basic information. And I guarantee you they will be your cheerleaders for the entire district.
I absolutely love that idea. I absolutely love that idea. I want to, first of all, give it up to our panelists. Thank you so much, Clara. Thank you so much, Rachel. They're going to stay on, but they're going to be off screen. You may, I know if you guys get called to an emergency, we all understand, but Tony or Zach may ask you guys a question, and I'm probably going to ask you to give me a takeaway if you're there, to give me like one last takeaway before we say goodbye to everybody at the very end. But thanks so much, Clara. Thanks so much, Rachel. Tony and Zach, I see you guys here. Before you guys talk, I want to bring on the poll question. We have a special poll question. Tony, we're going to give the results at the very end of your talk, but I want to bring it up, and I'm going to ask Clara and Rachel, even though we can't see you any longer, maybe you could give us a sense of, please, everybody can just take a time to take this poll. But Clara and Rachel, what do you think, you know, in your districts, what would be the biggest factors going into selecting a routing software? What is it? Is it the safety? Is it savings, ease of use, efficiency, or is there just like an urgent need and we just got to do it? So Claire, I'm going to ask you first, and Rachel, what would you say the biggest factor is for you?
I think it's unfair to choose one of those because they're all equal. So, but I mean, we all have to say safety first and savings second, because, you know, nobody wants to bring a high ticket item that's not advantageous to their business manager. But I think I'm ruining your panelist question, but I think they're all super important.
No, it is true, and it was hard to kind of like, how do you prioritize these? How about you, Rachel?
Okay, yeah, safety, but ease of use. If it isn't easy, it's junk.
Very good. Well, that's great. That's blunt. Thank you. All right, Bridget, you can close that out. Bring Tony and Zach on. I'll come back at the very end. Thanks so much again.
Great.
Can you hear me all right?
Audio's a little rough there, Tony. I don't know if we get the right speaker connected for you, but I was gonna say, hearing from our clients like that is great. I'm just picturing, you know, Rachel putting plus up on a projector there and bringing in all of her drivers. It really brings, you know, up for me the reality that, you know, the technology is going to be a tool that enables the actual humans, right? The software is not what routes the kids or anything like that. Her team is.
I think it should be better now. Can you hear me in a better way?
It'd be great.
I gotta tell you, and really the whole thing about is, I mean, we get the system in someone's hand in June, which is completely crazy. Why would you want to open up school with that product? So, of course, you heard it, right? You heard it firsthand. And I think Clara knows we did not think it was going to happen. And she's like, oh, I'll do my best. Obviously, I was playing, and it went from playing to actually open up school with the system. So it definitely can be done. It's been done multiple times. We just don't know how much time everybody has. And of course, as a compact size school district, these individuals do everything from even driving a bus. So that's always a little bit tough to predict, but amazing stories. Thank you to both.
Absolutely. Anyone that's implemented technology here knows to, open in that time frame took a lot of energy from both sides. But a few things I wanted to make sure to wrap up with. Tony, we set the expectations at the beginning of the webinar. I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into some of the topics we had talked about previously. So I'm going to show a few of the optimization tools within our platform, talk about some of the dashboards and reporting, and then wrap up with some of the communication tools, the way we let you leverage our tools to communicate with your district. I want to stress at the beginning though, Route Finder Plus is built a little different than other platforms, right? We want to try to automate a lot of your normal everyday day-to-day work. 80% of students are coming in. The system should be able to categorize, assign those kids to the right stop, do all that kind of work. But we also know that there's other students that require a little bit higher level of touch. So I wanted to talk through, what about those special needs students? What about homeless populations, situations like that? So one scenario we see all the time is, I've got new students that have come in that require transportation, right? And having a system that's going to bring those right to your attention when you log in first thing. Hey, here's your 4 students that had a change of address or have been added to the district, or they sent in a request for transportation there overnight. These are my to-do list when I come in the morning, right? With our platform, you can see those students, we bring it to your attention, and you can jump right in and get recommendations from the platform. So based on where does that student live, what kind of disability needs do they have, the platform can recommend what are going to be the right routes based on, load times, ridership, distance that the trips are traveling. You can have all that information kind of brought right up to you.
In fact, did you hear what Rachel said? Again, I didn't even know about this. It was just an amazing story about how they brought up Rachel, right? I mean, you could still interject if you wanted to say something. You brought up single trips, or did you bring them all up going to a particular school? Is that what you did? Are you still there?
Yep. I brought up like a group of them. So this area was where, it was like 4 or 5 routes. Those are the ones I brought up first.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, those are things. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because to me, it's a unique way of looking at it, and I love that you took the approach of getting your drivers really are bought into it, right? You want to bring them in and get them involved. But the capability of just bringing up multiple trips and start moving things around is really part of our secret sauce. And I think, Clara, you know that it's part of our secret sauce. Again, it's not so secret after all, but that's what we do here at we make it as easy as possible. But yeah, we love automation, right? We want things to happen automatically because you don't have as much time as maybe our larger school district, but this is so cool that you share that. So really nice.
This is a normal workflow we hear all the time from districts. I come in, I've got a kid, I need to find the right route. Having these kind of tools that bring that information to you. And then from there, you should be able to, with a single click, assign that student to the right bus. And you talk about automation, right? The system's automatically sequencing, putting in your driving paths, updating times. But Tony, as much as we love to talk about automation, people's biggest fear is that they're going to get into a platform that they're going to have to combat, they're going to have to fight. The system says they should do it one way, but the truth is people like Rachel and Claire are the experts, right? They need to be able to go in and manipulate this how they need to. So that's another big part of what Plus allows you to do. So that's very basic level. Yeah, let me come in and put kids on the right bus. I wanted to take that and jump to another example where I say, well, what can the system do when it comes to automation, right? What if I have 30 kids that need to get routed and I need to put together my routes and I'm starting from scratch, right? With a platform like Plus, what we allow you to do is you can take all of the kids that need transportation and let the system do a lot of that work. You could say, hey, go ahead and create door-to-door stops. Make sure they're right side pickup. If you see special needs routing or rural routing, it's really common here. And then you could take it even further and say, all right, well, I've got 35 special needs kids. How many buses do I need to bus these kids? And the platform can figure all of that out for you. It can assign the route, the stops. It can break them up to multiple routes. It can go ahead and find the most efficient paths and load times and all that information, and kind of, within a couple of clicks, you do the work that may take normally a whole team of people to do, right?
And again, this is where typically, we get feedback saying, well, we're a compact school district, we're smaller. I don't see why I would benefit from this functionality. We know our area very well, and you do. And I think even a larger school district know their area very well. We're not looking saying, hey, we're going to save 75% of your cost, but 10%, 5%, 15%, anything we could do to save one driver, one particular. And if you're short and you have all the mechanics drive, well, maybe we could save one of the mechanics not to drive today, and that's significant. I think this is where we're not saying that everyone is super inefficient. Could we find a slight efficiency? And that's really it. Again, I think both of our panelists, more effort they put into it, a lot more to get out of it. But what is the low-hanging fruit? And I think this is a low-hanging fruit right here.
But it's also about keeping up with that, right? The school year may start and maybe they did a great job and they've got optimized routes, but we see it all the time from districts that new kids come in, we got to find a spot for them. By the end of the school year, you've made so many moves, so many changes, which are really service-based changes, right? Appeasing parents, appeasing, what students need, that by the end of the year, things have started shifting away from that efficient operation, right? I wanted to make sure to talk about some of the insight that we get too, right? So it's not all about the tools and the inputs. A lot of the time, asking districts that are using other platforms or again, they're still using manual systems, trying to get very basic information can be really hard for them. So I wanted to talk about some of the information we give you. I'm going to go through a few dashboards, some of the outputs we get. One of them is just keeping track of my buses. So for example, we hear all the time that parents are calling in, whether you're calling to a dispatcher or calling to a school admin, saying, hey, my bus is supposed to be here 5 minutes ago. Where is it? Well, with our tools, I know we talked about Viewfinder earlier, getting all of your school admin up to speed with Viewfinder. A user could just type in that bus, say, hey, where is it on the road? And they get this kind of compared analysis breakdown. Where's the bus supposed to be? Where is it actually? And they can help answer those phone calls more efficiently. And again, this is something that does not need to live within transportation. A lot of districts are saying, hey, the parents are calling the schools anyway. Let's give the schools these kind of tools so that they can log in and see what's happening with transportation too. GPS is a big piece of, getting better insight into your operation there. The other thing we hear all the time is if there is dispatch, if you do have somebody in your office that's supposed to be monitoring things, how can I keep track of what's going on the road? And being able to get alerts and have the system light up and let you know, hey, this bus was supposed to be out at 6:12 a.m. The GPS hasn't turned on yet. We're not getting any feed for it. And having that light up for you, or say, hey, we've got, end of the day, we've got 3 vehicles that haven't arrived back at the yard yet. Being able to get that kind of operational insight can be really key, because that's the difference between a driver did show up, they were sick today, and I didn't realize for 45 minutes into the day, and now I've got to scramble and call somebody, versus I'm catching the issue before it really becomes a problem, right?
I remember for compact districts, even though, in this case, you do have over 10,000 students, but for compact districts, even just as important, because everybody's driving at this point, you could easily miss some of these things, right? Let's face it, a larger size school district, they have dedicated people, and they're intentionally not going to drive because they need to be there in the office and to manage all this stuff. But as a compact district, you really don't have it. Be nice to know, hey, you need to be able to get a driver here, because these individuals don't have the time, and so we need to make sure. And I hope you could see there's a theme. Our product works for really from very large school district to as small as that makes sense for someone to have our software. And these tools are not just, and again, we're trying to educate the market. It's not just for the larger school district. There's really the majority of the schools in America are the smaller ones, or compact size. And we know they've been slow to think, oh, well, I don't need software. I mean, I've been doing a great job manually. Unfortunately, everyone right now is suffering from the driver shortage, and this is really we're trying to educate the market that our software is just as good for the small as it is for the larger school districts.
I think that's so key, right? When I talk about dashboards a lot of the time, that is an area where some people think, oh, that's for people that are specialized that can sit there and stare at that info. But I hear the struggle from compact districts all the time that, when it comes time for budgets and justifying costs, things like that, how easily can you answer simple questions like how many miles are we driving a day? How many students do we have riding, right? What's our daily utilization look like? What's the change year over year from last year to this year? I know where I'm in Texas, that growth is so big that being able to have this information at your fingertips can really help justify, asking for that extra money or asking for the changes that you need to. And, we're talking a lot about transportation, but it's important to remember, we're going to do a whole webinar tomorrow, Tony, on Service Finder and our fleet maintenance, but having those tools for your fleet too and integrated into one platform. It's really important that districts have all of these tools in kind of one place. And again, even if you're not going to bring in everything at once, that you're working with a partner that when you're ready can bring in tools like fleet management, can bring in tools like parent communication, RFID tracking, all of these different things whenever your district's ready to add them in.
And like Clara said, when she was doing some research to say, does she want it? Is she going to keep Transfinder or go to another product, right? And it's a tough decision. Those are always tough, and especially if you already have something, why would I want to change? And really, there's a lot of reasons why you want to change. Is it easy to use? You get more out of it. But no, the other one that is a peace of mind, how is service? And if you have multiple products in your operations, well, then who do you call for which product? And the whole idea is that if there's a question, just call one company. It's Transfinder, with its fleet maintenance, field trips, routing, GPS, parent apps, you name it. You just one company you call. You don't just look at your Rolodex. I don't even know. I've not used a Rolodex, by the way, Zach, in a long time. But the whole idea is that who am I calling for this product? And you don't need a cheat sheet to figure out who to call, right?
I honestly just know them from movies. I don't think I've ever owned a Rolodex. I'll be honest with you.
I think I hold one in the office, and I don't use it.
So I've showed a lot of dashboards, but I think it's important, you brought up compact districts. Do I have the staff to sit here and look at it? A lot of the people, I'm sure Claire and Rachel have both gotten out and having to drive buses, and they're not able to monitor all this. So it's really key to mention too, that sometimes it's just as important that we can bring this information to them, when they need it, right? So all the information we're talking about could be set up as scheduled reports that can come into your inbox, right? A big one that we see is things like on-time performance. Who knows what I'm doing while the buses are out on the road? Maybe I'm out on the road myself, but I want to be able to come in, 9, 10 o'clock, everything should be done. And I could see a report. Hey, how many buses arrived on time? Who was late? Where were they making unplanned stops, so that I can take that and take action for it going forward, right?
And Zach, I think one thing that everybody knows when you're talking about building efficient routes to be as optimized as possible, we always forget the take home, right? And I think I heard like let's how about we reverse the order. It's the take home is really what causes the issue. That especially if you have more than one tier, that as you pick up students from school A and you're waiting there and maybe they're taking a little bit longer, this is where GPS can help you saying, hey, that school is hurting our other tier. And this is really, it's a domino effect. And so having this kind of data knowing, hey, maybe you need some collaboration with the principals at those locations saying, can you get these kids on a bus faster? Because what happens is your issue is now domino effect to my other schools. And so, and I think people forget that part, right, Zach?
Yeah. No, we definitely see that, in the afternoon it starts backing up. And I hear it all the time. Look, I would love if my school knew, where are the buses? Where are they coming? Are they running behind? Because if they are 10 minutes behind, I don't want the kids to wander off and now the next tier is going to be 30 minutes behind, right? How do we kind of stay on top of that?
That's it. And I think that is the problem, that then all of a sudden the quickest solution that people do is like, oh, let's just add more resources, add more buses, more drivers. That was how it was solved in the past. Well, you don't have that luxury anymore. So I think the problem is if you could feel like if you determine that the issue is maybe just getting kids out of school is not going fast enough, well, figure it out. Get your principals involved. And I think, if they don't know that they may be causing an issue, and they don't know about it, they're not going to be able to fix it. So just get them involved, all right?
Let's wrap up here. We've talked a little bit about what am I doing within my operation to be more efficient, to run better routes? How am I overseeing that and getting insight to make sure that that's being followed? Last step in that is how am I communicating that out to my stakeholders, right? How does my school administrator know, my school admin? How does my parents know? How do my drivers know, right? And having the tools to do that are really key. So a few that I wanted to highlight, but I know, again, Rachel, Claire, talking about some of the resources they've been using, really, really important there. A big one is just right out of our system, a lot of districts are just using email, right? You can email your parents to send them messages. So big ones we see are, hey, upcoming school year, here's what their transportation looks like. I think gone are the days of mailing out postcards, or I've even heard, putting it in the town newspaper, here's what the bus routes are going to be. Now we should have that information for parents, and we can send them an email saying, hey, here's your transportation. Here's a registration link. If you're going to register for transportation for the school year, here's changes we've made, or here's issues that are going on, and you can send that directly out of Route Finder Plus to parents there. But obviously, taking that even further is bringing in a piece like a parent app, right? Our Stop Finder parent app does so much for parents, puts all of that information in their hand. And what's really nice too is how targeted it is, right? You don't have to send a big blast or an email to the whole school. Our system allows you to even take, here's my students, let me map them out. Where do my kids live? Who's going to be impacted by some of the changes we have to weather or construction? I know I heard Claire talking about we've got a bridge out for the next 2 years. So, we may have to rework around that. I can highlight students that maybe live just north of the bridge and say, hey, let me send you a quick announcement. We're having construction today. Buses are going to be running about 15 minutes behind, right? That kind of targeted real-time communication can be really powerful. What's nice is with our tools, parents don't need to go to a website. They don't need to check their email necessarily. They can get that information right to their phone too. So that cuts a big gap out of being able to communicate with parents. Say, I never saw that update. I never checked that. Now it's pinging right into their phone saying, hey, here's communication. And Tony, I know we're really excited,
I know we're running a little bit out of time here. We're running a little beyond, but this is one of the fastest growing product we have here in the company. And we're talking about, I think last month we had well over 5 million notifications to parents in the month of September. And I'm sure we're on track to the same amount. And that's a lot of notifications, whether the bus is running late or it's nearby me. That's significant amount of communication. And again, the parents don't pay anything, but this is where it's become our fastest growing product. There's no integration. It just works as part of our infrastructure. There are other products out there that are standalone, and they've been great products, but those days I think don't make sense anymore, where a lot has changed in the industry that really want one company to call. This has been really good.
I know. I hear it all the time with our parent app. People are asking, well, how long does it take? Is it every night that the parents are going to get updated information? No. Being one platform means everything's staying in sync. Everything's immediate, real time. As you're making changes, parents get to see those changes happening.
Right. It's live. That's really it.
Tony, I think we've got a call out too with our parent app, the feature that districts and parents are most excited about, which is being able to bring really actionable information to their hands, right? So ETA, tying in a parent app, tying in our navigation app, tying in GPS, all these pieces, we can give communities and parents the best experience possible. Imagine rather than showed up late every day to the stop, mom gets a ping on her phone saying, hey, the bus is 10 minutes away. It's time to get out there, time to make sure we kind of catch that. You talk about the waterfall effect, right? Buses show up late, means this tier is going to be late, then the next tier. We see that all the time with, in the morning, picking kids up. If they're late out to the stops, it can delay a lot of that operation. So having that ETA in parents' hands solves a lot of those problems.
Love this part. I mean, this is true ETA. Obviously, you're not going to just draw a shape, and those have been great, been working well. But really, when you're looking at what ETA does, is ETA literally looks at where the bus is located, where it's supposed to go, and really we determine the estimated time. It's very good. This is where the future is. Getting a third-party parent app will not do the trick, of course, anymore. It doesn't.
So look, we talked about parents, but it's just as important that parents have that information. Getting this information to school administrators, to your district staff, really, really big gap, right? I think about transportation offices, their phones ringing off the hook all day. And I know a lot of that's parents, but a lot of the time it's a school admin, it's a, whatever the case is, trying to find this information. So, having an integrated platform means, look, I should be able to share all that information now. And Rach, I know you're planning to roll Viewfinder out. Definitely recommend doing it sooner rather than later, because I think it's gonna save a lot of your time and energy. With tools like this, they can actually pull up right on their phone and see, I've got a student in front of me, he's trying to figure out what bus to get on in the afternoon. I could search that student, see their bus right on my phone, tablet, computer, and make sure they're getting right on the right bus. We hear all the time from our clients that are actually using this out in the field to be able to, find the information, but of course, they're also able to do things like track the GPS on buses. If you're doing ridership with your students, they could see, hey, did the student get on the bus this afternoon? Did they not? All of that information is right there at their fingertips.
That's right.
Tony, like you said, I think we're kind of coming to an end here, wrap it up. I know we want to get poll results, but I think it's important to leave with just a message. We talked about a lot of the targeted pieces that the software can help solve with your efficiency, your communication, but it's really important to stress that if you're looking at updating your technology, you're looking at updating your tech stacks, and there's so many pieces, we know that it doesn't always make sense to do everything at once, but it is important that you're working with a company that's able to bring all these pieces, right? Bringing in piece by piece and trying to get two different tools to communicate with each other and sync up with each other has been such a challenge for districts for a long time. Being able to work with one company that, when you're ready, can bring in that parent app, can bring in that navigation app, can bring in RFID, field trips, fleet management, when it makes sense for your district is really, really key. So
I think those are again, you want one company. If there's something wrong, one company needs to be called. You can't just look at which company should I call based on that. And the problem, and we've been there before, what happens at this point, multiple companies that maybe they compete against each other, I'm going to start saying, well, it's not my fault, it's their fault, well, it's their system. Well, let them change theirs. And that's what happened. So, this is where, we've been around. We got to give you the right advice. And the advice we're going to give you is, it's one company. It's one company you're going to be talking to. Those days are over that you're going to call different ones. Right?
I think that's right, Rick. I think that's what we had for today. I know people want to hear the poll results, and
I would have the vice president of marketing upset with me, but I don't want to say at least once. One partner, one solution. So somebody please tell John Daniels I said one partner, one solution. That's what it's all about. Actually, we have a webinar coming up in November. That is November, late November. That is going to be the topic about what does it even mean to have one partner, one solution. I can tell you this, Tony, it's more than a slogan, right?
Yeah.
All right, I want to pull up the poll results. Bridget, take it away.
Thanks, Rick. So for the number one is ease of use for the biggest factors going into selecting a routing software. Efficiency is very important with 82%, and savings at 27% and 18% for safety.
Very good. And so, yes, you could pick more than one, as you can see there. And what's also interesting there is, I think if it's ease of use, frankly, it's probably going to be more safer too, because you're going to actually be using it, right? If it's ease of use, you're probably going to have some savings because you're going to be getting in there using it. And obviously, we definitely make your routes more safe.
Rick, the whole idea is that if it's easy to use, you're not gonna, I mean, look what I just heard before, that Rachel was able to bring other people involved. If it's hard to use and other folks would see her struggling with the system and go, what do you got here? I mean, you're gonna use this to manage what we're doing? I mean, it's actually, it all flows downhill at this point.
It really does. It really does. I'm going to ask Rachel and Claire to come back on real quickly, and then we'll close this out. Rachel and Clara, please give us what's one takeaway people leaving this webinar you want them to take back to the office.
Rachel, I'll let you go first.
Oh,
Throw me under the bus this time.
No.
The support is there. I mean, the Transfinder really has people looking out. I mean, even weird little glitches that you expect. I was talking to my project manager this morning about a weird one, and he's like, I'm on it. Let me submit a case and we'll take care of it. It's like, perfect. Just the support is there. I mean, I worked with other companies and it isn't, but it is here.
that's great. I remember Tony used to say, even when his boy is now, Tony, how old is Alessio now?
13.
Okay, well, remember when he was 5, I remember you saying, even my 5-year-old, he may not know what good service is, but he definitely knows what bad service is. So I thought that was good. Clara, close us out here.
So sometimes we call those undocumented features.
What?
Undocumented features. So we don't call them bugs, they're undocumented features.
Oh. I think, Tony, you should be in the PR side, the marketing side.
There you go.
Clara.
So I'm going to end it with if we have unique challenges that we're all facing, driver shortages, needing efficiency, Transfinder is definitely going to help us do that. Obviously, if I can start playing in a database and roll it out a few weeks later, they have what we need to make our job successful, safe, and get our school districts involved too. So it's everybody's job to make sure these kids are happy, healthy, and safe in school, and that starts with us getting them to school, and that's just easy with Transfinder. So there you go. There's your new commercial.
Perfect. One take, Clara. So listen, everybody, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank our panelists. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise, Tony and Zach. Great content. And for all of our attendees, thank you so much for spending time with us. If you want to know, take the next step, at least get the conversation started, please email getplus, it's GETPLUS @transfinder.com. We will definitely follow up with you, or go to transfinder.com, look at all the things we have going on. We definitely want to help you be successful. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Bye.